Do you know what time it is? It's playoffs time, baby, and it all starts right here, right now, north of the border. The Sim Speed Shop Truck Series rolls into the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, live here on the GSRC. Here to call all the action is myself, Samuel Ryman, along with Sean Ambrose. Our director Joe Peake is doing all of the button pushing from behind the scenes, and he's using camera sets provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, it is always a unique event when we watch NASCAR-sanctioned vehicles go road course racing, but tonight's race is extra special considering the implications that this race will have in the championship.
Sam, it certainly is. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. You know it as Mosport. Now, Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, the scene of the crime here today on this great track. You know what hasn't changed since 1961, Sam? Well, that's the layout of this track. That's when they opened here, and it's about 4 kilometers, 2.4 miles, 10 turns. It's a tricky road course, hard to pass, and the grassy runoff areas are a little harder to escape than a black hole at times. But, you know, the elevation changes here are another thing that make this really exciting. Fast sweepers with those elevation changes, and well, there will be some good passing opportunities. Moss, it can be one of those great opportunities, but I think you're depending a little bit more on other drivers messing that up. It can be very, very tricky. Listen, I've talked enough about it, though. Let's hop on board for another GSRC lap around Mosport.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC Silverado, so let's do a lap around Mosport. Coming up to turn 1, you'll hear Kevin hit the limiter simply because it's quicker to stay in second than to have to shift twice. Be careful on the exit not to dip a wheel into the grass because it can send you spinning to the inside wall in a hurry. Next is turn 2, very blind double apexer. You want to be easy on the brakes on the way in, otherwise you'll turn the car around over the crest. Once you hit the bottom, we switch back to the left to set up for 3. This corner is unusual because it has a late apex, but it really opens up on the exit. Don't worry too much if you have trouble putting the power down though, because there isn't much of a chance to pass afterwards. You'll see why as we plunge down the hill through 4, where you'll want to balance the car on the throttle. Up ahead, there's heavy braking from Moss Corner. You gotta remember that the compression at the bottom of the hill means you can really get the anchors out late. Make sure and clip both apexes, but be careful not to clobber the curbs because you're gonna need every inch of traction. From there, straighten out the exit to the backstretch as much as you can, or else risk wheel spins sending you sideways. As we make the long climb up the Andretti Straight, you'll attack it just like before. Straighten out the kinks with as little steering as possible. Now, for 8, once you get it slowed over the crest, you'll turn in a lot sooner than you'd think. The start of the S's is a long one that can be taken with 2 apexes. Plus, you really want to hold right at the exit to set up for 9. The corners are going to get progressively slower now, culminating at 10. Once again, be tidy at the apex with that curb on the final corner to keep the wheels planted. Finally, accelerate to the start-finish line and complete a lap around Mosport.
All right, and we are back here tonight for the Lordco 150. Lordco Auto Parts and sponsoring this great race at Mosport tonight, and Sim Speed Shop, of course, your big sponsor for the truck series. But go on to Google there and look up Lordco Auto Parts, and you'll find them. We certainly appreciate them sponsoring this race here tonight, Sam, on a track that I'm looking at the weather. I got to be honest with you, it's a little warm out here tonight. This could be an issue for the drivers, but I think we've got some other business to get to before we get to the weather.
Yeah, well, in a moment we'll have qualifying, but we also, as we mentioned at the top of the show, have the playoffs starting tonight. And that means, for once, Sean, there's not a whole lot of math that goes into looking at these numbers right here. Everything is close together. These drivers have 3 rounds to try and make it into that top 8.
Yes, sir. And William Hartman leading us going in. Judd Danielson there in second. Of course, we've seen the kind of season up and down at times for Judd Danielson, but did good enough there to finish in second. And if you notice, a little bit different here in the way the points look, because we have entered that playoff. now, and the goal for all the drivers is to be in the top 8. The playoff points are wiped clean, and but what driver in the regular season is shown in their points total. Now the points show the interval above the 9th place. There are several drivers tied for the final spot, but that will change once the points for these playoff races start coming in, Sam.
Yeah, and we have a very interesting upcoming 3 rounds for this first round of the playoffs, Sean. We go, obviously we start here tonight at a road course. Next time out, which will actually be in 2 weeks' time, we go to Las Vegas, and then they run the Talladega before this round ends, and just we reset the points again and do it with 80 trucks. Let's have a look actually at that series info. We have just completed the 16 regular round season, heading into the playoffs. So the playoffs will be broken up into the first 3 rounds, as we just mentioned, Mosport, Vegas, and Talladega. 8 trucks will advance. After rounds 4, 5, and 6, the top 4 in points will advance. And then at Homestead at round 7, they do what has become tradition in NASCAR in recent years, and that is basically the highest finisher of those 4 takes it all. Now, this is essentially the truck series for the SSCA guys, so they are running the NASCAR Camping World Chevy Silverado and Toyota Tundra. Fixed setups. They have 5 sets of tyres throughout the race. The reason you just saw a picture disappear, by the way, is because they advanced from practice to qualifying. So fixed setups, 5 sets of tyres during the race. If you cause 2 crashes during the race, you will be told to park your truck. And if there is a caution, and yes, this series does do cautions even at road courses. If there is a caution with 4 or 5 laps to go, iRacing, even though iRacing will say the race ends under yellow, the SSCA guys, no, they don't do that. They'll let us go for a 2-lap shootout to the end.
All right, Sam. Well, you know what? Why don't we talk to one of the people really primarily responsible for the entire season? Why don't we pull Gary Sexton in here and talk to Gary real quick. Gary, have you got us? Good evening.
Yeah, you got me?
Yes, sir, we do. Well, this is the first of the big 3 series you've got here that are kicking off their playoffs tonight. Your thoughts?
Well, first thought is, man, I'm excited to watch this go down. I know a lot of these guys, since we split up the series this year, a lot of these guys that are going to be fighting for the championship this year, they've never really had an opportunity to fight for a championship in any other of the SSCA series in previous years. So I know they're all going to be really hungry. They're all going to be really aggressive. And I think that from the drop of the green flag to the checker, this is going to be a nail biter. We added an extra 10 laps to the race tonight to kind of mix up the strategy in the last stage. A lot of guys were saying that we weren't going to have to pit for fuel in that last stage. So we made the call to make that last stage a little bit longer to introduce some strategy. After all, this is the playoffs, so got to keep these guys on their toes. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to how this race unfolds tonight.
Well, Gary, I tell you what, man. What went into the decision to put the road course as the first race of the playoffs?
Yeah, so our Truck Series guys requested that we follow the exact NASCAR Truck Series schedule this year, the one they do in real life, and that is how it is in real life this year. They end at Bristol tomorrow night, and then they'll pick up at first race of the playoffs at Mosport for their first race. So our guys wanted it. We gave it to them. This is what we got. This is the first race, and it's gonna be exciting.
Now, Gary, 1 week ago, we saw just how competitive this series has been, even by your SSCA standards, where we saw Joe Johnson didn't make the playoffs because he didn't score enough stage points, essentially, at Bristol, and we saw Robert McFarland and also Mark McFadden make it through. Now, obviously, the 12 drivers who have made it through, they're very close on points. Who do you personally think are going to be the bigger names to watch? And give us a lowdown here. Who would you be if you were allowed to? Because you're the league organizer. You might not be. Who would you be putting money on?
Yeah, I think overall it's hard to bet against William Hartman. He joined a few races too late, but he pretty much dominated since he came into the series, and it'd be hard to bet against him right now. However, our regular season champion Judd Danielson is no one to sleep on. He's got a really, really good team behind him that really, really knows their way around the strategy. And I know Judd, he's willing to try some things out. He's going to probably take a little more risk than he did in the regular season. He kind of played it safe once he got out to a big regular season points lead. So I look for Judd to be strong. But I think tonight, with the road course and the wild card, I'd look for someone like Kevin Fetty or Ray Richard to maybe sneak into the playoffs with a win, or sneak into the next round with a win, and then they'll be able to take it easy, get some more playoff points, and carry on. Having really 2 wild cards in the first round is really going to shake things up. Anybody can win in these first rounds, and you may see somebody like William Hartman or Judd Danielson or Chris Scala, the really fast guys, sitting on the outside when we get to round 2. So, I look for that to unfold.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Gary. We're here in the closing moments of qualifying right now, so we're going to head back down to the track and see all the action. But we appreciate you coming to talk to us, and we're looking forward to the show tonight.
Yes, I appreciate you having me here. Have a great broadcast, and we'll see y'all when it's finished.
And once again, this is the SSCA Sim Speed Shop Lordco 150 that these guys are getting ready to do battle on. Gary mentioned they extended the race by 10 laps. It will be 60 laps in total this race tonight, Sean. And it's all thanks to our good friends at Lordco.
Yes, sir, it is. And boy, 60 laps is going to be a bit of a grind around here. But I'll tell you what, I love the times I'm seeing here in qualifying. With just under 4.5 minutes to go, Kevin Fetty, who was fastest in practice, is, well, keeping it up. He's running 124s again, and it's got a 124.7. It's got him on top. And, Steve Seegers, nice qualifying lap there by him, wearing the rookie stripe on his truck there. Steve comes across, puts that up to third, Sam, with a 125.6. Not a bad effort for him at all. He's still got more in him. Got another chance to get out there and get a lap. Qualifying tonight, they get let's see, it's a 10-minute session, Sam. So they can put down as many laps as they want in these 10 minutes.
Yeah, one of the concerns, though, for the drivers is it's also an open qualifying session, so they've got to be wary that there's other trucks out there on track with them, and they're going to want to try and get a clean lap. Running out of time to get that clean lap in, though. It takes about 1 minute 25 seconds for these drivers to get around here, and you see only 3 minutes left on the clock, and Michael Dullard, that shows he's probably only got enough time to do another out lap and then bring it around again, maybe get one more hot lap in that number 31 machine. Although granted, he did just put in his fastest time before he spun in turn 1, so maybe that was his way of getting back to the pits quickly.
It may be, Sam. He might have just shut it down real quick, take another stab at it, but certainly a nice run, 124.2. That's nothing to scoff at. That puts him within a half second of Kevin Fetty right now. So not a bad effort. Road course is certainly times a little bit different. You could be a half second off on a road course and still have a great shot to win a race. Half second off on the super speedway, you may lose the draft and you may not get another opportunity, Sam. So these road courses, especially Mosport, have a way of kind of leveling the field a bit and giving everybody a chance at a big victory in what is round 1 of the playoffs here for the Sim Speed Shop Truck Series.
Now, we showed you at the top of the show the 12 drivers competing in the playoffs. However, we understand not all of you are going to be able to memorize their names. So what the guys at the SSCA have done to help us out is the 12 drivers competing in the playoffs have some blue trim on their trucks. Namely, the windshield, the banner above the windshield is blue, the splitter is blue, and I believe also the rear spoiler is blue. So if you're a driver without all that blue on your truck, Sean, and you see a blue truck behind you, you might just want to be a little bit careful.
You might be, or you yourself might be feeling a little blue by the end of the evening. So you definitely want to get in and mess up any of these guys' chances here for a championship in this playoff format. But drivers still out there working on their laps now with just a minute left. And Sam, Sean Callis just came across. That's 4 laps for him. A 126 flat. It's about as best he's been able to get in. It's going to be real tricky to get around and finish this lap of time. In fact, I think Sean's shutting her down. Yep, the 43 moving out of the way and letting who is that? Let Ray Richard get by there for another chance. Ralph Forrest coming around. Oh, and he loses it on exit there out of White's. And Sam, that's certainly a part of the track we're going to need to keep an eye on here towards once we get into the race. White's corner, not a lot of fun. That's really tricky to navigate.
Yeah, and I'm looking up and down also the bottom of a qualifying order here, Sean, as we enter the closing seconds. One of the more notable things is our points leader, who earned a bunch of bonus points during the regular season. William Hartman has not turned a qualifying lap. In fact, he hasn't even turned a practice lap. So I don't know what kind of pace our points leader right now, the 67, will have once we go green.
McFarland just got a lap in there, Sam. He came across, actually 14th. He did get a lap in.
Yeah, McFarland has, but William Hartman, still no sign of him. No one
right. You did say
yet beat Kevin Fetty, who, as they've added a minute of qualifying here. Scott Seaman, the only driver still on track, currently 5th.
Well, Sam, I do see William Hartman is still connected with us, so maybe William's pulling that start at the back strategy and kind of let things sort themselves out up front at the start. I don't know. This is a pretty fast track. I think I'd take my chances of qualifying and try and find best position I could up the grid and fight for that position and try and get some clean air to drive with, but. Sam, it's not going to be long now. They're going to fire up these Camping World trucks, and we've got a pretty demanding race. 60 laps this evening, all 3 glorious stages, and all that action about to unfold here for round 1.
And here comes Scott Seaman, the last driver to turn a lap. Even despite a little bit of blue trim on that truck there, he is actually not one of the drivers competing for points, so he'll be out here racing for the win, though, but he'll have to do it from 5th on the grid as he comes across the line. So, with all that being said, the round 17 winner of the Sim Speed Shop Pole Award is going to be Kevin Fetty. For every 2 poles this season, a driver earns $5, and the driver with the most poles at the end of the season earns $20 of simspeedshop.com, which is a great place to order custom button boxes as well as to buy and sell used equipment. For more information, go to simspeedshop.com. That is Kevin Fetty's first pole of the season, though. He's going to need another one to get that $5.
And Sam, we're going to take a full pace lap all the way around, and then he'll cut them loose right out of White's corner.
Yeah, so let's give you the full starting lineup. 17 trucks here, including all 12 playoff drivers have showed up. So only 5 racers here tonight are not racing for points. Kevin Fetty is on pole. Alongside him, Daniel Jackson. Ralph Forster will be starting 3rd place, just half a second back of our pole time, ahead of Michael Dullard. Scott Seaman will be starting from position number 5. Another driver with the initials SS starting alongside him. Steve Seggers in 6th. Ray Richard, then come the R's, starting in 7th alongside the M's of Mark McFadden. Boy, I've pulled on to something here. Sean Catlist and Judd Danielson will round out the top 10.
All right, Sam in 11th. It's going to be Mike Donahue, and sharing row 6 with him is going to be Chris Scala. And in row 7, David Gervais. David Gervais starting 13. 14th going to be Robert McFarland. Row 8, Roscoe, Jeff Martin. And then William Hartman is truck number 17 in his Toyota Tundra. And Sam, I'm hearing he may not make this race.
Yeah, we're getting that in the YouTube chat, actually, from Gary Sexton, the league organizer who was talking to us just a moment ago. I'll tell you, with 20 seconds left to grid up, no sign of William Hartman yet, nor is any sign of David Gervais, but he turned a qualifying time just a moment ago, so he's probably just getting his bearings. Chris Scala, another one of our playoff drivers, he just disappeared from the grid, and that concerns me a little bit. And now he reappears, but this is still concerning me, Sean, because he has been having connection issues throughout practice.
Well, Sam, I've got some inside info on that. I'm sure he won't mind me sharing it, but he just moved recently, and he's trying to. He's strung something together. He's trying to make it work, and we're gonna wish him the best. I don't know if it's gonna hold together until the end here. So far, the early returns are in, and it's not great. They're gonna drop him to the back of the field. Scala, I think, is gonna try and just manage to finish this race if he can. I think if he stays connected, that might be a win for him, and not a total DNF here. So we'll see. We'll see how things go for Chris tonight. We wish him well.
You didn't share that special information, Sean.
Okay, he's using a hotspot, Sam. A Wi-Fi hotspot. Google that.
I know what it is. I just would never use it for iRacing. Yeah, but here's the thing. His truck has been blinking a little bit in and off during the pace lap. It is not unusual on iRacing during caution periods for drivers who have a bit weaker connections for them to go in and out, and then once we start racing, they tend to clear up a little bit. Yeah. So we hope that's what happens to the 5 truck. However, no such luck for William Hartman. We do have confirmation he is no longer in the server right now. So the fact that he rolls into this race with a 27-point advantage over several trucks at the tail end of the playoffs could play. I mean, he's just lost all that advantage, Sean. But that being said, it's better than missing the race and not having those extra 27 points.
All right. Well, listen, we got to talk about the drivers who are here and ready to race, Sam. And, well, it looks like most everybody made the grid. It looks like David Gervais is maybe starting from the pits. I'm seeing his truck is there.
Yeah, David Gervais starting from the pits, rounding out the 15 trucks that will start on the track is Jeff Martin in number 15, another one of our playoff drivers. We'll have to watch to see if he can come from behind. At the very front, though, it is going to be Kevin Fetty and David Jackson as a pace car peels off. For those about to race, we salute you, because we are starting the playoffs here at Mosport, and it's a nice start by Kevin Fetty, who will have turn 1 to himself. Daniel Jackson filters into second, but they're side by side for third.
Boy, gonna bottleneck here at the top of the hill. Gotta be careful. It's gonna squeeze down, and they're gonna make it through there through the front, looking to the back of the field. It looks like everybody's gonna make it off the top of the hill and down into Quebec.
So they all made it through turn 2, which is definitely one of the black hole portions of the circuit that we were mentioning. If you put your wheels on the grass there, you're going for a ride. Now they come down the hill into the heaviest braking zone on the course, Moss. Not unusual for us to see drivers get this one wrong. So far in the opening lap, though, Sean, they're all crawling around on their tiptoes, making sure they stay incident-free. And also they have fresh tyres playing into their advantage right now. Once we start to get some laps on, though, a few of these trucks will start sliding around.
Yeah, Danielson got into Moss a little bit hot, but he was able to whoa it up and get through there clean just behind him. Mike Donahue moves up in 10th, gets around Sean Callis in that number 43 truck we were talking about just a little while ago, but already Donahue showing a little bit of something here as he trails Danielson now going into White's corner. He's closing on him too. Going to look to make a move on him down into 1.
Here they go, side by side, but looks like they'll get sorted out. This race will be split up into 3 stages. The opening stage is 10 laps. We have already clicked off one of those. Kevin Fetty is your leader, not by much over Daniel Jackson, but the top 2 have really broke away from the rest of the field, Sean.
Well, Kevin Fetty driving in the Spirit this evening. They're in his truck, and boy, I'll tell you what, he's got to be careful here. Daniel Jackson pressing awful hard on board here with Jackson.
An incident coming out of turn 4 between Jeff Martin, one of our playoff contenders, and Sean Alice, who's also racing out there for points.
Yeah, Callis gets loose in the worst spot, Sam, and the truck is going to come back across the track. And it just, there was just nothing that could be done there. He's trying hard to keep that thing under control, but it snaps on him and it comes across the 15. And that's really, really going to hurt Jeff Martin. I mean, that's going to be great damage on that truck.
Well, hopefully this opening stage is short enough. I'll be able to keep on the lead lap, and obviously this being a road course, I'll have plenty of time to try and fix these trucks under caution without losing a lap when the competition caution, when the stage ending caution comes out after lap number 10. Oh, Mike Donahue off in no man's land in turn 2. Fortunately, it looks like this will be one of those rare instances where he's able to gather it back up and come back on in 10th position where he was before he went off. Meanwhile, the top 2 leaders still very close together. Daniel Jackson was all over the back of Kevin Fetty down in Moss. And of course, the way playoff racing works, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you win one of these races, and you are competing for points in the playoffs, which our top 2 are, then that will automatically advance you into the next 3 rounds.
Yes, that is correct, Sam. You're all over that. Sam, action close on track right now. I'd say the closest is Dullard, who's moved up a spot and is chasing Jackson. Ralph Force, though, all over Scott Seaman right now.
Yeah, Dullard got this spot at the very start of a race. He was able to get a better launch off the line than Ralph Forster, who has actually dropped all the way back to 5th. But it does seem that Dullard is holding up a little bit of a train.
Well, you say holding him up, I don't know. He got that spot. He seems to have pretty good space right now. Anyway, Seaman's got to go get him here, prove that he can. Meanwhile, though, Fetty and, man, I'm looking at the gap now. Fetty and Jackson are on their way to open it up to 5 seconds on the rest of the field.
It's Scott Seaman. As you mentioned there, Sean, it does appear that Dullard has broke away a bit, but Scott Seaman definitely still keeping him honest. I've noticed our race leader, Fetty, does seem to be sliding around a little bit more than Daniel Jackson. Of course, it remains to be seen which of our drivers up front can maintain this pace over a long duration. I don't think I'll mean a whole lot in this opening stage because it's only 10 laps. Maybe we won't find out who has a good long run truck until much later on in the day.
Sam, maybe we can look at P13 real quick. Jeff Martin, Sean Callis, both a couple of drivers trying to recover here. Martin's damage not as bad as initially thought. In fact, he didn't even take a pit. The rumors of his demise have been greatly over-exaggerated, Sam. But he is trying to hold off Callis right now. Callis giving them a mirror full as they head into Clayton now, and Callis is going to run it out a little bit wide. He's got to get out of the throttle, and it gives Jeff Martin a bit of an advantage here heading into Quebec.
Yes, absolutely right, Johnny. But as they go through Quebec, Sean is able to run up on the back of Jeff Martin, and Martin able to pull away on the exit of a turn. It does appear that Catalyst is a bit fast. He was able to qualify ahead of Martin. Well, granted, Martin didn't turn the lap during qualifying, and they're getting very close entering Moss.
Battle of Chevy and the Toyota there as they head up the Andretti straight here. It's a long trip up the hill. Callis making a move, trying to. Jeff Martin making the truck really wide. Oh, Callis got to be careful back there. Weaving off into the grass, making an evasive move there, getting by the traffic. And then look at that. Callis slips it up the inside, takes that spot away now, heading to the S's down in the whites.
Already entering the closing stages of this opening stage. There's a bit of a battle going on for 6th as well, with Mark McFadden not far ahead of a 26 truck of Steve Seggers. Again, keep you abreast, McFadden and Seggers. Well, you both see there, they both have blue banners on their truck. We're going to keep you guys abreast on which of these drivers. And Ralph Forster, who is not a playoff driver, just had a big moment next to him. Moss slides back onto the racetrack, but loses a couple positions because of it.
Actually, we got a good replay of this here, Sam. Let's see what happened to Ralph. We'll ride on board with him here.
Yeah, I think he probably lit it up a little bit exiting the turn, if not maybe even clipped a bit of back grass on the exit.
Boy, he does save it. Boy, and the contact there almost, man, he almost just door slammed. We're gonna go on board Seeger actually here and watch this. Seeger almost takes a door slam, certainly not intentional, but he got really lucky getting by this. Oh, that was McFadden up in front of him on this guy doing something. Seeger's got to get out of the throttle there, obviously. Got my drivers mixed up there, Sam.
So back to live action as the trucks continue to log laps here in the early stages at Mosport. As we mentioned, there's a couple of paints out there that aren't showing up a banner, so we'll try and keep you abreast right now of who's in the playoff pictures and who's not. We'll try and get that sorted with trading paints in just a couple of moments here on GSRC, as we have a nice battle for 8th place going on. Ray Richer, he is one of our playoff drivers ahead of Judd Danielson, actually 2 of our strong playoff contenders here, Sean, who have been performing well throughout the season, running in the middle of the field right now though today at Mosport.
Yeah, Danielson here though, maybe looking at an opportunity. And he's not going to drive it down on the inside. He's going to hang out the stage, getting ready to come to a close here in a couple laps, Sam. And maybe Danielson just kind of looking forward to getting to that first pit stop, putting some fresh rubber on the truck after he's gotten a feel for this. That's certainly, we have varying levels of road experience or lack thereof on the track there tonight, Sam. So I would think every driver to a man has a different idea about how they're going to drive this track tonight. And again, that goes back to the amount of experience they may have in this situation. Oh, boy, Danielson was off of the grass. And what a great job of bringing it back on, Sam.
Yeah, if you're going to go off at turn 2, that's a nice time to do it once you're pretty much already through the corner. So, as we're about to enter to the go in this stage, we have several big positions still up for grabs. Fetty has not really broke away from Jackson. Duller just had a big moment exiting turn 5, and Scott Seaman's going to look for 3rd place as they go down the back straight, and he's going to take it in that 99 truck.
Seaman does a great job of taking advantage of a bad situation here, Sam.
Yeah, well, it's a bad situation we've been seeing more and more of throughout this race. As you mentioned at the top of the show, Sean, these high track temperatures, I have a feeling they are starting to hurt those rear tires.
Yeah, Sam, it's 104 degrees on track. I would imagine a lot of drivers have made their rear tires very angry at them right now. It's 77 degrees outside under partly cloudy sky. A little bit of wind, but really it's that track temperature that worries me. And I'll say it again, I seriously think several drivers are looking forward to this pit stop here coming up in about a lap and a half.
One driver who made an early pit stop was David Gervais. He had a couple of offs. The bad news for Gervais, even though at a road course, pitting right before a stage might not necessarily be a bad idea, for Gervais it has cost him a lap, so he might have his work cut out for him. Otherwise, all the rest of the 15 starters still out there competing on the lead lap. The only driver and really the biggest story of the race so far, Sean, who's not on track racing right now, is William Hartman.
Yeah, and again, it's a shame Hartman didn't make it into this race. You know, one of the bigger movers of the race who I haven't talked to getting into this is Mark McFadden, who's picked up 3 spots. He's got himself in the top 5 right now, Sam, and McFadden's having quite a run. He is in the Lordco Chevrolet this evening. The Lordco Auto Parts Chevrolet. You know, you can find him at lordco.com. That's where you find Lordco. They've been in business for a very long time, Sam. But Mark running the Lordco sponsorship this evening, and again having a really, really good start here. He's looking to finish as we're on that white flag lap now of the first stage. Mark McFadden looking for a top 5 here.
And before they come across to end the first stage, I want to take a quick glance at Judd Danielson's number 17 truck. Something happened to him last time around because the front end of his dirty air tundra there is all wadded up. But here we come to the end of the first stage. Daniel Jackson just had the moment next in turn 5, so that'll take the pressure off of Kevin Fetty. Jackson resumes in second place. But it does mean, after all that, it should be an easy Stage 1 victory from pole position by the driver of the number 94 Chevy Silverado, Kevin Fetty, making his way through the last couple of turns right now to lead lap number 10 of lap 60, score some bonus points and win stage number 1.
That's a good run by Fetty. It's a good run by Jackson, too. And I'll tell you what, Dullard tried to get to Scott Seaman there. Both of them going to finish up pretty well inside the top 5. And, of course, we talked about Mark McFadden and the effort he had here in this first run. You still got Judd Danielson here on screen fighting. And it's going to settle up for 9th for him. But, Sam, I think we're going to take a quick break here for the Lordco 150, and we'll be back in just a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel.
Hello and welcome back to Mosport. And now that we've had time for trading paints to catch up, you can see why it's appropriate that Kevin Fetty won stage number 1 in his 94 machine. He's racing the Maple Leaf machine out there. He is about to bring the field down pit road after winning stage number 1. Let's see if he can win the race off of pit road, Sean.
Sam, everybody coming in. I don't think that's a great surprise. In fact, nobody has decided to take the strategy of staying out on the track. So this is good. We've got the whole field, 16 trucks coming down there to pit lane. Who's going to win this race off? It could go to anybody. Fetty is the man we're watching. The number 94, couple trucks having trouble getting into their stalls. Not good. In fact, Steve Seeger's still trying to get into his box. He's backing up, back and forth. Seeger's still not planning. Everybody else coming out, Sam.
First two remain the same. It was a close battle for third place. Looks like the big win off of this round of stops is Mark McFadden. Now, McFadden finished stage number 1 in 5th place, but he was the third highest playoff driver to cross the line in stage 1. The drivers who finished the opening stage in 3rd and 4th positions, Scott Seaman and Michael Dullard, are not racing for playoffs, and now McFadden has found a way by those guys. Several trucks in the pits after getting early damage. Rusco, David Gervais, Chris Scala and Steve Sagers sitting in the pit stalls for a bit longer. Surprised Judd Danielson didn't join them much, Sean, considering the amount of damage he has on the front end of his 17 machine.
Yeah, a little bit of damage there. You know what? Listen, as long as the truck still turns, he's going to be all right. I don't think his ability to draft is going to inhibit his march to the front if he can do it. Now, what we don't know is that truck might be dealing with some water or oil temp issues, and if that damage is bad enough, right, it could be an issue, especially with 104 degrees outside. But you know what? Danielson isn't worried about dirty air. All right, let's face it, Sam.
Absolutely not. Now, of our 12 playoff drivers, we mentioned that 16 of them started the race. 16 trucks started the race. William Hartman, our points leader coming in, did not. 3 of our playoff drivers did not finish in the top 10 at the end of the opening stage. They were Chris Scala, who was back in 15th with his connection issues. Down in 14th place was Sean Callist. He was involved in an early incident. And actually, four drivers didn't finish in the top 10 at the end of stage 1. Jeff Martin and Robert McFarland were just on the outside. They were in 12th and 11th positions, respectively. So not going to earn any bonus points from those opening 10 laps. Now, stage number 2 is 15 laps. However, Sean, we've already worked 4 of those under caution here. They're racing just another 11 laps to the completion of lap 25, when they'll have a chance to score points again.
Score, score, score. That's the name of the game, Sam. And you know what? Hey, I want to give a quick shout out. The YouTube chat very active this evening, and Miss Kathy is with us again. Kathy Stone, one of our regular viewers here in the SSCA, and we're glad to have her on board, and everybody else that's hanging out there in the chat this evening, keeping it fun and keeping it active.
Chris Scala still being shown as in the pits as the drivers work their way out onto the back straight. Definitely not good news for the driver of a number 5 machine there. Hopefully it's not the last and it is the last we've seen of him. Chris Scala has just disconnected. Now, it doesn't mean he won't come back, but he'll definitely go a lap down, because the field is getting set to start stage number 2 with the same front row that we started the race with, Kevin Fetty and Daniel Jackson.
Well, we had so hoped that Chris would make the end of this race too, and well, he's given up the ghost, Sam, as we finish up the long Andretti straight, coming up the hill here and head in to turn 8 and the S's. And the pace car, that roof pace car, will dive off to the right into the pit lane. And it'll be all up to Kevin Fetty and Daniel Jackson. McFadden still back there in his Lordco Chevrolet. The Lordco 150 about to get back to it, Sam.
McFadden up 5 spots from where he started, but no one has... Oh, wow, Fetty. Oh, I'm not sure if he'll get in trouble for that.
Jackson going for the lead already.
And that's
Oh,
going to bring out the yellow for sure.
oh, that's a mess. Everybody got caught up in that. Everybody behind our leaders.
Jeff Martin smoking. The 15. That's one of our playoff drivers.
Sam, I think what you're going to see here on the replay is, well, that 66 of Ralph Forst doesn't quite get slowed down enough behind McFadden. McFadden in the blue and white Lordco machine. He gets tapped from behind, comes across the track, hits the 43. Everybody gets stacked up to the outside there into the grass trying to make an evasive move. And that just didn't end well for a lot of drivers. Man.
Yeah, what really concerned me at the start here, Sean, was Kevin Fetty changing lanes before the start line. And I almost wonder if this wreck hadn't happened, if he would have been penalised for that. I'll be interested in seeing how that goes down. Ride on board and see, that's quite a hard whack for McFadden there.
Oh, it really was, man. Poor Mark, man. We were just talking about him. What a great run he was having, and I think we put the jinx on him. And that truck, I don't know. I don't know what's going to be left. Look at Danielson here, try and drive through, and he manages to do it. Poor Judd already got some damage on the front end of his machine. Doesn't need any more, and he did a pretty decent job of skating through that. In fact, so good that got him up to 5th place. Actually, as things start to sort themselves out, Sam.
Sean Callis is coming into the pits for repairs, one of our playoff drivers there, as is Robert McFarland, bringing his 00 down. One of the drivers who just managed to scrape his way in at Bristol. Now, of course, the great equaliser here, Sean, is there's so many of these drivers have ran into some early trouble that it might not be the end of the world if they have a good performance at Vegas and Talladega.
Well, no, it may not be the end of the world, but boy, you'd sure like to start the playoffs off on a good note. Your best effort, I mean, so it might be a tough pill for several of these drivers to swallow this evening. But listen, we still got some trucks on this track that are in good shape, so we'll see. But Chris Gallo checking in, letting us know that he did park it. It was just getting a little bit too bad on his end, and he didn't want to really have that affect anybody when the traffic started to come through. So he's going to be back up to speed next week, and from that new pad of his somewhere near a beach or something like that. I don't know, but Scott will be back with us.
You see, Daniel Jackson is going around at full speed. The pace car was right behind the leaders when it came out of pit road, and I have a feeling the leaders were kind of waiting for the pace car to pass them, but then they worked out, oh no, iRacing actually wants us to go around, do a whole lap at full speed and run down the pace car. So a bit of confusion under this caution, and I have a feeling it's backfired against Robert McFarland. I have a feeling he's lost a lap because of everything going on right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a little speechless right now because I don't know how to explain this. I thought we were set, but apparently not. Everybody's speeding around now trying to catch that pace car.
Yeah, Steve Sagers in the 26 has spun his truck twice trying to go around at full speed and bring it into the pits to get some repairs.
David Gervais just did the same thing, Sam.
I mean, I think a bigger problem right now, Sean, is there's probably only 1 or 2 laps of caution left because the pace car's just been trotting along, and these drivers need to get regrouped pretty quickly. Some of them still sitting in the pits. This is going to be a very short second stage when we get back going.
Yes, it will, Sam. That caution flag certainly came at a cost, and it's going to cost us most of the laps in this second stage. We see the pace car now start to come down through the S's and be coming out of whites here in a moment. We'll see if I would imagine the lights are going to stay on at least for one more lap. I could be wrong. As we see, who's that peeling off into the pits there? It was the double. Okay, that was Robert McFarland going in. And yeah, the lights are going to stay on, Sam. So we've got another couple laps around here. Ralph Forrest is actually going to get an end of line, and for causing that caution. So they hung the blame on him. He did get in a little hot, but it was the start of the second stage, so everybody on pins and needles was probably a little too amped up.
Yeah, it's a standard procedure for this SSCA group that they will tell the driver that brings out the caution to go to the back. However, Ralph Forster has actually now retired from the race. No playoff implications there. He is not competing. He is not one of the 12 with the blue banner. Ray Richer is though, and he's one of the ones currently in the pits getting some repairs to his truck. Now this is interesting actually, Sean, because so many drivers pitted and lost a lot of time the first lap under caution. Ray Richer has only fallen back as far as 8th right now. He could, in theory, roll from his pit stall right now and still be in the top 10.
We need to get rolling quick here. Watching the time on his stop here. Okay, Ray's down and away.
Yeah, but that only just drops him back to 9th. Mark
Yeah,
McFadden goes
McFadden.
down. Yep. Uh-oh, Sean Callis, I think, is bringing his truck to a halt under the yellow. Will he be taking a tow to the pits? Is he done for the day?
Not sure what happened with Callis there. He's still sitting there right now. Oh, could he have had some sort of hardware failure? Well, that SK Sim Racing machine a little battered tonight here at Mosport. The Toyota still sits off to the side of the track as the pace car continues to cycle around, Sam.
Yeah, here comes the pace car. Even if he is just trying to take care of something, he's going to lose a lap. And pace car lights are off. Daniel Jackson will lead their field back to green. And I have a feeling the story with that, Sean, is it's basically Kevin Fetty's way of yielding the position to Jackson, knowing that if he didn't, he would have received a penalty, I think, for changing lanes before the restart.
You know, Gary Sexton just checking in, it brought up a good point. Said that maybe he got a lap ahead with that deal with the pace car. Callis did. I guess that makes sense.
Well, Callis being shown a lap down for now, that's for sure, as is Steve Segers and Robert McFarland. Behind them, Ralph Vorst. We just mentioned he retired from the race after being given the penalty. Jeff Martin still sitting in the pits with a lot of damage from the previous yellow. Chris Scala retired from connection issues, and William Hartman didn't start. So 3 of our playoff drivers already in big trouble today: Martin, Scala, and Hartman.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way they had planned on starting off these playoffs. Still got a couple of trucks lagging behind. One of them is Robert McFarland, and the 24 of David Gervais. He needs to get on his horse here.
He just had to spin a moment ago.
Well, then maybe he better not gallop too fast then. At least not until it gets to the Andretti straight here anyway.
No incident limit, by the way. You can spin as many times as you want. You just can't cause 2 wrecks, or else you will be done for the day. Fortunately, Sean, haven't seen that rule come into play too many times this season. I mean, we have had races that have been ugly, but normally Oh, well, if a driver was involved in 2 cautions by those points, they were unable to continue anyway. All right, so this time, Daniel Jackson has control of the field. What kind of restart is he going to get in that 84 machine? A pretty nice one. And you wait, there he goes across the line, and now he can use the racetrack all to himself, make sure he's ahead of Fetty. Fetty there, wide in turn 1, completely off the apex. That's going to allow Michael Duller to go by.
Boy, Russ Coe had a scary moment with Ray Richer as they got through turn 1. They're both still side by side coming down the hill off of Clayton. Gervais trying to, or I'm sorry, Seeger's sticking his nose in there. Coe's going to let everybody go, Sam.
This is lap number 20, so this is essentially a 6-lap shootout to the end of stage 2 right now. Jackson leading Dullard, Fetty, Seaman, and Danielson, your top 5. And off wide goes Steve Sagers.
Boy, he just dirt tracked it, right? I think he thought we were at Eldora again. He took it right through the dirt there at Moss and got it back on track, and that's actually able to pull away from McFarlane and Callis.
A lot of rumours behind how Moss got its name. I think he just poured a bit of it back out onto the racetrack. Donahue just broke his way into the top 5, a pass on Judd Danielson.
Judge is, I think right now, Judge is trying to bring that Toyota home this evening. The Dirty Air Toyota is, I'm seeing damage on the rear end. I guess it was there before, so I wonder if it's handling like he wants it to. Obviously, Seaman was able to get around, and he's just going to follow right now. I will say he's clear behind McFadden. It's got to worry out. Ray Richard just behind him. Sorry to jump around, but man, Richard just almost runs over McFadden.
And that was Steve Sagers, you saw off in the background, but he recovered. Meanwhile, things getting dicey for second place. Kevin Fetty was looking alongside Michael Dullard on the run down to Moss. Wasn't able to pull that one off, but now he's got to go defensive because Seaman's all over the back of him.
It's a good battle. Great shot. 0.2 of a second separates him.
And just 4 laps separate these guys from the end of stage number 2. Daniel Jackson has broke away from these guys. Well, we saw when Fetty was in front early on, he was kind of able to control the race, but Jackson was never too far behind from him. Well, now that we see Ketty mired back a bit in traffic, Jackson is really showing how much he can stretch his legs.
Well, I can tell you, he's stretching pretty good right now. And this, again, we know this is a bit of a sprint here to the end of this stage. And, well, Jackson took care of business there and was able to put that gap between him and Dullard. But you know what? Dullard has got his own trouble to worry about because Fetty just breathing down his neck right now. And, boy, the 99 of Scott Seaman just hanging back there and trying to maybe look for something here down at Moss. And Seaman made a really good trip down the hill. And all 3 of them, like a mini ballet, get through Moss there. Real nice.
Yes, that's about the second you're watching right now. The change for position you just caught on your screens was for 7th place. Ray Richer, remember he had that pit stop under the previous caution, very late on under the caution. Well, he just took 7th place from Mark McFadden as he tries to work his way back up towards the front. But about for second, still on with 3 laps left to go in the stage.
Yeah, Dullard got to watch himself here. You don't want to make a mistake with Kevin Fetty in your mirror. Yeah, we had a fun fact about Kevin Fetty. I don't think we brought it up earlier, but he's a former 24-hour of Daytona winner on iRacing. So Fetty bringing a little something to the party this evening with some road course experience. Although Daytona, a much different circuit than than Mosport, but the kid's obviously got some chops, Sam.
Yeah, he's also the only driver in this three-way battle that is racing for playoff points. So he's got to be a little bit more careful than two competitors in front of him, around him, the one in front and the one behind, who are just here to race for the win. Granted, if they want to pull that off, they've got 3.5 seconds to run down that 84 truck.
Yeah, Fetty's playing this smart here. There's no reason to risk this playoff run trying to better yourself by one position here at the precipice of the end of the stage. So I think this is fine. I think Fetty's doing what he wants to. Oh, and then he sees an opportunity. Ooh, Dullard opened the door for him into the S's. Now they're side by side going into whites. Who's going to get out of there first? It's Fetty with the advantage, and Fetty's going to go by and look at that. Oh, no!
Big moment for Dullard. He lit him up. He's off the racing line. He might be handing out for caution. The caution would end the second stage, but he's off the racing line right there.
Yeah, Dullard going to let everybody get by so he can get the ship right out of here. Going to lose major positions, but that is definitely worth taking a replay, and really, really unfortunate there for the number 31. As he gets out of whites, gets to the hammer a little bit too quick, and then he himself gets hammered there by the 99 trying to get through.
One beneficiary out of all of this was Mike Donoghue, who now moves up into 4th place and isn't too far back of Scott Seaman for 3rd. Mike Donoghue started this race in 11th. He finished the opening stage in 10th position, but now running in 4th. He is actually the second now with the spin that we just saw. He is the 3rd highest, actually, playoff driver currently on course in that number 70 Silverado.
Yeah, you know what? Tip of the hat to Mike to stay in his thing and stay out of enough trouble now to put himself inside the top 5. The Miller High Life machine is, on his way to maybe celebrating a little bit of the high life here with a stage top 5 in stage 2.
Well, our race leader, Daniel Jackson, just started the final lap of stage number 2. He has 5 seconds over Kevin Fetty. Now, it will be interesting to see if they both come in at the end, during this stage 2 caution. Judd Danielson off in no man's land. He's sliding through the grass. He's lost 3 positions.
So close to the end of the stage. That's certainly not what Judd had wanted to happen there. I think he gets a little lucky. Saves the truck. That truck was heading straight down for the tire barrier, too. As we watch our leader continue around. Jackson in command here, Sam.
Yeah, Danielson actually only lost 2 positions. He was in 5th. He dropped to 7th. I also saw another truck go by, but that was a lap truck. So here comes Daniel Jackson through the last couple of turns. Fetty wins stage 1 ahead of Jackson. Jackson is going to win stage 2 ahead of Fetty. Another 35 laps awaits us to find out which of these two, if not another driver, wins the race and stage number 3. These two, though, Jackson and Fetty, definitely going to be the two to watch.
Yeah, I think, Sam, that's a pretty good observation. I mean, there's a couple drivers maybe with an outside chance to maybe tangle with him here over these last, we'll probably closer to 30 laps than it is actually 35 laps by the time we get done with the cautions. But they, I think, so far have proven themselves to be the class of the field this evening. And as long as they can hit their pit stops right and get out front, it'll probably be up to them. Drivers having trouble getting around here in the caution. Danielson out in the grass there had a little bit of trouble, and boy, there's our leader with a little trouble, Sam.
Yeah, fortunately they both just kick up a little bit of dirt and then get going. No harm, no foul. But Once again, it seems like half of our caution laps here tonight have been at full speed.
Yeah, and
So
I
fortunately, pit road won't be open this time, right? So they'll have a chance to all get bunched up. 10 trucks on the lead lap, by the way.
I hate to drive caution laps at full speed. I really do, because there's that chance that something might go wrong, right? And you destroy your vehicle, and then what was all that worth, right? That speeding up and coming around at full speed. So I try to run fast enough that I know I'm going to catch the field eventually, right? That's my plan.
So, our top 10 at the end of stage 2 is Daniel Jackson, Kevin Fetty, Scott Seaman, Mike Donahue, Ray Richer, Mark McFadden, Judd Danielson, Michael Dullard, Russ Coe, who we haven't really gave a shout out at all today, he finished there 9th place, and David Gervais, who has had several spins but has kept on the lead lap, which is something not a lot of drivers have been able to say today.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for a few. Seegers, McFarland, Callis, they're still with us. They're still racing. It got a little bit tougher for Ralph Forrest, Jeff Martin, Chris Scala. They decided to go ahead and park their trucks already this evening. Poor William Hartman couldn't even get started with us tonight. Sam, we've seen some pretty good racing here at Mosport. I certainly love the trucks on this track. I have no problem with it. I practiced a little bit, and I'm happy to say the results weren't horrible. They weren't great, but they weren't horrible, and the truck was clean when I got done with my practice stint.
I remember the Lionheart IndyCar series came here earlier this season, Sean, and for this race I actually got a piece of black electrical tape and put it over the position count on the screen because I was so worried about racing the track. I'm like, I don't want to know what position I'm in. Oh,
Yeah.
meanwhile, getting the wave around there, that was Steve Sagers getting the lucky dog. He'll be back on the lead lap in 11th place.
And if I remember correctly, in the IR18, that's like close to a 1 minute lap here, isn't it? It's something like just over a minute.
Yeah,
I know it's
feels
crazy
right.
fast. Yeah, I know it's crazy fast.
Alright, speaking of crazy fast, let's get ready for some crazy fast pit stops. Jackson comes in first, but Fetty, being our pole sitter, he has that desired number 1 pit stall. However, a big gap between Jackson and Fetty as they come into pits. I really think a 94 should have done a better job of getting on his rear bumper there.
Well, let's see if everybody can get in clean and get out clean here, Sim. So important as they roll in. In fact, Jackson...
No, they both overshot.
Oh, boy. In fact, Fetty's still struggling, Sam. He's not in there. He's not set. He's finally set. Oh, no. Fetty's going to lose a lot of time. In fact, already out is Scott Seaman. And there goes Mike Donahue. In fact, I think Fetty's going to get, or Jackson will get the edge on Richer. No. Richer gets out before Jackson. Wow. Fetty really, really bad time to mess up that stop, Sam. That's going to cycle him out in 7th.
Well, the field is definitely going to look a little bit different when we go back to green. And we'll get that for you in just a couple of moments here on the GSRC. We're going to take a quick break. So don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Sim Speed Shop, a Lordco 150 here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is round one of the playoffs for the SSCA guys, for their truck series, the APRO Challenger series and the Cup series. Also getting ready to start their playoffs here in the coming weeks. You'll be able to catch all of those on the GSRC. But for right now, we are turning left and right on the tricky road course up here in Canada at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Kevin Fetty won stage number 1, Daniel Jackson won stage number 2, but they both missed their marks entering their pits under the stage 2 caution, which is about to finish up here because the pace car lights are off. And then we will be racing to lap number 60. And Sean, all these drivers are going to have to pit again for fuel if we go green to the end.
That's right, Sam. They will have to pit again for fuel as we get ready to go again here in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, eh? It's been a great race here so far, and, well, we've got halfway to go, Sam. And, well, if the first half was any indication, I think it should be a pretty good 30 laps coming up here for the folks, 31 laps to complete the race. But I think cautions might dictate what happens here as far as fuel strategy goes. You're not going to need many laps in before you can make that pit stop and get back out on track. So now that we have so many less laps to get this done, Sam, so here we go. About time to crank it up again.
No blue windshield on Scott Seaman. That's because he is not a playoff driver, just racing for the win. Mike Donoghue is, and a big moment for Daniel Jackson back there. And he did He clipped Richter. And sliding through the grass there was Michael Diller, but they all recover it.
Sam, the race is still green. I'm not seeing a caution flag here.
That's Mark McFadden, way wide exit in turn 1.
We'll go back to the Richer incident on track. Everybody's starting to try and kind of sort things out. Again, no caution flag on that. McFadden back here in a fight with Russ Coe, and now Steve Seeger's trying to come through, trying to make this a 3-car battle back here for the 8th position. Just up ahead, Kevin Fetty just got by Ray Richer, Sam.
Yeah, now Danielson looking to get by Ray Richter. I wonder if Richter picked up some damage on that restart collision that we saw there. McFadden picked up some damage. He's trying to be defensive right now back there in 8th place.
Yeah, it's not going to work, unfortunately. Yeah, now Seegers is going to get around him. That damage on McFadden's truck, I think, a little bit too significant there to keep pace. And Seegers takes that 8th spot. Already working on catching Ray Richer, who we know has damage on the front end of the truck. He nosed it in pretty hard there, Sam.
Yeah, so 2 drivers that had pretty consistent stage finishes, McFadden and Richer. So let's watch a replay of a restart here. It all started with Daniel Jackson, Sean. He lit them up exiting the final turn and just clipped Ray Richter. Richter, hard knock into the wall there, and then pretty much the rest of it was just the drivers trying to get around.
You know who else had a hard knock? It was actually Duller. Got door slammed pretty good there, but man, managed to get away from it. But his truck is a mess. He's being chased by Fetty now. I'm watching the 31, and the rear end is got heavy damage. The front end has heavy damage. That truck's all cut up and not feeling well. And yet
but Fetty,
in 4th.
Yeah, but Fetty behind him is damaged too.
Yeah, Fetty dealing with some damage of his own. Go back to the pit stop, Sam. You're not in this spot if you get your pit stall thing situated there and don't lose all that time. And now he's fighting from what seems an impossible position here behind the driver. Go ahead.
Yeah, Daniel Jackson all over the back of Mike Donoghue trying to get second place. Jackson was the one who lit his rear tyres up. He won stage 2 but restarted 4th after missing his marks in pit road. He is really pressuring the 72. Our 2 highest placed playoff drivers right now charging into turn number 1.
All right, so that was an interesting start here to the third stage, Sam. But we've got some good battles that resulted from it, and of course Jackson really still trying to pull this off. But man, I'm still watching this battle between Dullard and Fetty. Fetty looking for an advantage here, and he's got it. Oh, Fetty gets under Dullard, gets the position away, gets up to fourth. And I'm thinking maybe Dullard might have let him go there a bit, Sam.
Well, now the pressure is on Daniel Jackson because Jackson knows Fetty is a driver who has shown he has good pace early on in the race, and there's nothing separating Jackson from Fetty now. Jackson would love to get this 70 truck of Mike Donohue between them two.
Well, he took a look at it. The rear end of that truck started to step out into the S's here. Jackson certainly thought about it, just didn't have enough of the nose in there to make a difference. A good run out of whites would help, but no, it wasn't very clean there for Daniel Jackson. In fact, he got up on the curb. Had to be very, very ginger getting out of the turn there. Didn't want to upset the truck. He's back over the curb again. That's not helping his cause here to catch Mike. You see the rear end there, Mike Donohue's truck, supporting multiple sclerosis for his wife, it says. So we wish them well. And boy, Daniel Jackson almost takes the rear end of that truck off, Sam. Jackson's still struggling back there to get the wheels under him.
Yeah, well, he really threw it into Quebec, and he threw it in so deep, he never had enough traction, really, on the exit of a turn. Jackson, I almost wonder if he needs to calm down a little bit here. Maybe he might not have any tyres left by the end of this stint. Although, granted, you could probably be looking, if you do burn off your stuff, or if your truck's handling bad because of the damage at the start of this stage, you could be looking at pitting within the next 10 laps or so, get your pit stop done early, and then make it to the end of a race.
Sorry, Sam. Jackson, I thought, was going to make a move there into 8. He backs out of it again. But here we go. Here comes White's. Another great opportunity. They both get a good run out of there that time. Jackson a little bit loose off, but not that loose that he lost major ground, and Jackson takes a much better trip. Through turn 1 that time, keeps it off the curb, keeping it nice and tidy here in Clayton. And nothing doing, man. Mike Donohue got the rear bumper of that Chevrolet is wide right now, Sam.
Donohue, if anything happened to Seaman, would be looking for his first win of the season. Jackson took one earlier this year at Martinsville. Shout out to Scott Seaman, actually. He's broken away by 2.5 seconds while this has been going on. He's also looking for his first win of the season, not a playoff driver, so just out here to try and get a W. Jackson got a pretty good run there. Let's see if he can use his slipstream and pull this off.
Donohue's been very... Look at the way Donohue moves. Just kind of glides across the track just a little bit. Minor little moves. Just enough to not open anything up. And boy, Jackson looks like he's getting impatient. He was doing a gearbox check there.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Jackson's been a little bit impatient for the last few laps, and now it's starting to bite him.
Yes, Sam, it is. He had to change his entire lineup there out of the S's and into whites. Maybe he's just trying something different here. I'm not sure, but it's not helping. Donohue's starting to peel away just a bit.
Yeah, I anticipate Jackson is going to be able to run them down because he has the faster truck. It's just he's running out of strategy opportunities, I would say. If he's burning off his equipment, he's kind of forcing himself to do a short stop to make an early pit.
Well, both drivers doing a really good job of getting their trucks around Mosport right now. But Scott Seaman, Sam taking advantage of a great situation ever since the green flag dropped on this. He has continued to put some really, really good laps in. In fact, last time around, he had the fastest lap of everybody behind him. So, again, not bad for Scott. He just needed a break, and now he's exploiting that.
Yeah, Seaman has been a top 5 truck all night long. He gridded up in 5th place, has been in the top 5 in the opening 2 stages, and when the opportunity presented itself for him to take a lead, he took it. Meanwhile, Draxon in 3rd place, still sliding around a little bit, and what's significant about that is it means that Kevin Fetty is really starting to reel him in, although actually I take that back, Draxon was slightly fast. No, he wasn't. At time in updates, Fetty was able to into another 0.3 into Draxon's lead there.
Yeah, and Fetty's on the way. We're on board with him now. He's got that Chevrolet Silverado cranked up right now, and I think it might not be too long. He wasn't significantly faster, but he's fast enough, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before he catches up to Jackson. And we're going to see these two battle again, Sam, which will be for 3rd place. It'll be for that final spot on the podium. But right now, you know what? Stuck to the track like he's got maple syrup on those tires, Sam. Or maybe not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out. I've got to imagine, Sean, if I was Daniel Draxon with Kevin Fetty running me down, I wouldn't be surprised for Draxon to take a gamble, and as soon as the fuel window is open, bring it into the pits. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure when that lap will be, but it's got to be coming up soon. Of course, the risk that you run with that strategy is you run the risk of coming out behind slower traffic.
And say, by the way, I'm not a comedian. I just slept in a Holiday Inn Select last night. And our director is actually the real comedian behind the scenes. So thank you for teeing me up there, Joe Pete.
Apparently, Sean said something funny recently. He's watching, because not only is Fetty you run away from him, I mean, we could end up with things getting a bit close and maybe even a bit dicey for 2nd place.
I think so, Sam. I really do. I think this is all about to come to a head here. The storm clouds are rolling in. It's a partly cloudy day, and I think there's some thunderheads rolling in here, because this is going to get pretty spicy here. I think in a couple laps. Give it about 2 more laps to percolate just a bit, and then I think we're going to be ready to talk about something fun here. Although, boy, Donahue really got on the brakes early there, heading into turn 8, and Jackson closed on him quite a bit there. Fetty still making up time, though, back here. Really, really starting to gap both of these two. Oh, and Jackson gets off in the grass. That's not going to help, Sam.
Yeah, meanwhile, all this going on about 4 seconds ahead of Michael Dullard, who's in 5th place. Not a whole lot of battles left on track right now. There was a change for 11th not too long ago when one driver made a mistake. We've had a few drivers going off, but this is really the tightest, the closest intervals we have out there on the circuit. But the problem for these three, Sean, even though they're all playoff drivers, is none of them are going to be able to lock themselves into the round of 8, I guess you would call it, coming up in a few races' time, without... Oh, boy.
Yeah, another problem.
Without a problem for Seaman, because Seaman has opened that lead up to 3.5 seconds. Boy, Draxon having trouble getting the dirt off his cars.
Yeah, it really is, Sam, and Fetty not able to take full advantage of that because he messed up his exit on Moss. He'd be so much closer right now, maybe even taking this position away, but his inability to get a clean exit out of Moss is really, really hurt his effort, but Jackson's still struggling. He's made those rear tires angry. Oh, contact! Oh, no, that's not what Fetty needed. Fetty off into the tire barrier after the contact there. Jackson going to keep going.
Yeah,
Dullard on the inside of Jackson. Dullard's going to get by Jackson. Dullard up to 3rd, Sam.
Yes, so Dullard, not a playoff driver, takes advantage of our two stage winners getting together in the last complex of turns here. You'll get a replay of it. Now, Jackson and Fetty both only lose one position apiece to Dullard. And here's how it happened.
Fetty couldn't react quick. I don't know. He just couldn't get the car off to the right far enough. It all happened in slow motion in front of him, and I'm not sure. And you're seeing Dullard make that pass there at the end there to get by Daniel Jackson. But, man, again, Fetty just wrong place, wrong time. Couldn't get the car turned in enough to avoid the contact. And the really odd thing is that Jackson is still going, and it's Fetty now chasing Jackson. And there's Danielson there too, actually. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, exactly how it was before. Brings Danielson in. And this time it's Fetty off on the straightaway into the wall.
Kevin Fetty's had a huge problem, Sam. He's going to tow the truck in.
Why on earth would he be doing that? He's only half a straight away from pit road. Oh, he blew his engine. Okay, the contact with the wall has blown his motor. And so that might be day done for Fetty, and that is not going to be good for his playoff chances.
Okay, we're on board with him. Yeah, okay. All right, you hear the motor pop right there, and wow. Poor Kevin, that's not, that wasn't in the script, Sam.
And Michael Dullard off from third, spinning across the track, avoids getting hit, and Jackson moves back up to the bronze position. Yeah, and Danielson finds his way into fourth through all of that.
Boy, Dullard, you're going to see Dullard just struggle here. It gets up to Clayton, and it's going to go a little bit of grass right there. Just got him out of shape. Comes all the way across, almost gets the truck back up on the track, and then it dives into that inside wall. Takes him a lot of time to get back up on the track. He cycles into fifth, now chasing Danielson.
So all this means Scott Seaman leads by over 4 seconds over Mike Donohue, but then now Mike Donohue has another 10 seconds over Daniel Jackson, who's came out the survivor of all that chaos we've been watching going on from about third back to fifth place over the last few laps.
Yeah, I think using the term survivor and Daniel Jackson is a pretty good way to put it, Sam. Definitely surviving this. And Sam, we've hit the 20 to go mark. I'm thinking we've got some drivers that are probably getting close to wanting to come on in and get some fresh rubber on their trucks.
Yeah, well, it was interesting to hear at the top of a broadcast that expanding it 10 laps created some strategy. They were saying that were the final stage to only be about 20 laps, they probably would have all been able to make it to the end on fuel. So you've got to wonder if that's coming up to be the case right now, where these drivers will be able to get a full tank of fuel, make it to the end of a race. Scott Seaman, I take back what I was going to say. I was going to say Scott Seaman has really no reason to come in right now controlling the race, but you kind of do actually. Because you can't risk being the one driver on track that doesn't pit and a caution come out.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Sam. You don't want to take that risk. And I almost think, if I remember correctly, I think Scott might have had some trouble in the pit earlier with a slow stop. So maybe staying out just as long as he can does continue to give him the advantage. Listen, he continues lap after lap to roll off the fastest lap around. So as long as you're doing that and you're turning better laps than everybody, wait until you absolutely need it. Sure.
Oh, and here we go. Here's our first, I believe, scheduled stop from a lead lap truck. Mark McFadden, who we saw having a bit of trouble on the restart. He finished 5th in Stage 1, 6th in Stage 2, and just through attrition, he is running in 7th before he comes into the pit. So, this is an indication they've got enough fuel. And meanwhile, Daniel Jackson and Judd Danielson in trouble. Over in turn 3, they're both off in the grass.
Oh, boy.
Danielson's got back on course. Jackson is still turning his Toyota into a bit of a lawnmower here.
And Jackson's going to have to suffer the time penalty for cutting the course all the way across there. And that's going to be costly because that's going to be a couple of seconds, I would imagine, at least.
He may have even got a bit of help from Danielson there, although I think he was already in a bit of slide to kick that all off. Mike Donoghue coming in for his scheduled stop. He realizes it's time. I should imagine this should bring a lot more of them in. Yet Danielson coming in. The trucks behind them staying out, but Danielson comes in. Daniel Jackson stays out. I really think Daniel Jackson should be pitting because he has definitely been the driver in this stage who has been struggling with his tires the most.
Yeah, Sam, it does appear it's been that way. Talking about Mike Donoghue, who's now down and away. Donoghue back on track. He's the only Canadian. No, I'm sorry. I thought he was the only Canadian. Mark McFadden's Canadian as well. So let's call it a home race for those two. But right now, Scott Seaman left to get his stop in. Michael Dullard and Steve Seegers and Jackson. I think that's everybody right now. That as far as our leaders go, Judd Danielson just came in. He's down and away.
Judd Danielson at the long stop. I wonder if he got more damage than we thought from rear-ending Daniel Jackson there. Ray Ritchie was on the tail end of a lead lap. He's come in. Scott Seaman not taking any chances. He's going to come in and get this pit stop knocked out. Michael Dullard comes in, and Steve Seegers will stay out to lead a lap. And Steve Seegers is also one of our playoff drivers. He finished 6th and 11th in the opening 2 stages. And Scott Seaman, boy, the way the pit stops have worked. Seaman serves his pit stop and comes out in 2nd place. The only driver he's behind is Seegers. He's only behind him 3 seconds, and Seegers still has to pit. So things really looking to play into the favour of this 99 truck right now.
Well, I'll tell you, Seaman is, I think, Sam, if he can just keep things in order here over the next 16 and a half laps or so, I think we might have a truck there that could sit at the top of the podium. Because let's face it, since the second stage started, again, we talked about the great restart he had. Catching a little bit of luck. I think Seegers has proven here, to this point anyway, that he definitely has a truck that can win this race.
Well, Seegers will have to make a pit stop here, which will... Well, no, yeah, there he comes in. So this will give Scott Seaman the race lead, and it's going to be up to the other drivers to find a way by the 99 to take a victory. Meanwhile, 2 drivers quite close on track who have served their final pit stop are Judd Danielson and Mark McFadden, so we'll keep an eye on those guys in the closing laps. In fact, it'll be interesting to see where Seegers comes out of his pit stall in relation to these two. Looks like he'll be quite a ways in front of him. So, Steve Seegers serves his stop, comes out in 5th. And I believe Daniel Jackson is the only one in the top 5 yet to serve his stop.
Yeah, you're right, Sam. Jackson only the only one. He's our holdout right now. Jackson out there. Well, I take that back. Robert McFarland's still out there on a long stint, but Jackson pushing it right now as he's working on a 17 full laps. I expect he's probably still even got a little more fuel to keep running, but I don't know how this helps him at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah, his truck and his tires have definitely seen better days, but he's probably just enjoying the fact he's not being held up by any other trucks right now. He's been having a hard time getting around trucks. I mean, he lost 3 seconds that lap to Scott Seaman. I'll be honest, I don't know if he made a mistake during the lap or caught a lap truck, but it's definitely not what you want to be doing if that's entirely on pace.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Sam. Tell you what, man. I was going to say, I think Jackson actually appreciates having the clean track right now around him and not having to say that he got it a little bit hot to Moss, but not having to really battle in close quarters with anybody at the moment.
Yes, so Scott Seaman leads the race right now ahead of Daniel Jackson, who has definitely had an adventurous second half of the race. Looks like Mike Donoghue might come out of all of this as being our highest playoffs finisher, which is saying something considering he qualified all the way back in 11th position. Michael Duller, not a playoff driver, but he has definitely been a factor throughout this race, currently running back in 4th position. Running in 5th is Steve Sagers, and I believe Judd Danielson in 6th was actually just off course. He didn't lose a lot of time though, and remains ahead of Mark McFadden back in 7th. Our last truck on the lead lap right now, Ray Richer, has had a bit of a quiet race today, but I think honestly that's a good thing for the playoff drivers considering the trouble we've seen some of them run into. Our first track 1 lap down is Russ Coe in the 420 machine, and rounding out the top 10 is Robert McFarland, and currently only 11 trucks on track. David Gervais, the last of those.
Yeah, and boy, you mentioned Robert McFarland had just a little bit of a close moment with our leader Scott Seaman down there in Moss. They were side by side coming out of the exit there, and again, Seaman able to get through that and get by and continue to hold on to is now a 11.8 second lead on Daniel Jackson, and Jackson just got passed by Donoghue. Sam, is Jackson setting up for his pit stop here, or is he just, I think with the fresh tires that Donoghue got by him quickly, and Jackson maybe going to peel off? No, Daniel Jackson going to keep digging, Sam, out of whites.
Can't imagine he's trying to save fuel.
No, I don't know. I think he just...
I mean, yeah, sure, he can try and put fresh tires on at the end or do a splash of fuel to get to the end or something, but I mean, the way things were going, all he needed to do was try and pull a short pit off, and I think he would have ended up with a 3rd or 4th place finish. I'm not sure this strategy call he's playing here is... He might not even be able to get... Well, Steve Sagers in 5th place is another 20 seconds behind him. Maybe he'll be able to get 4th out of this. I feel like he could have gotten more.
Well, Sam, right now, in scanning through the field, we just did our run through the field. I'm trying to see if anybody really has an outside chance of picking up a spot here as we approach 10 to go. And right now, I think the biggest challenge for some of our leaders is that they're having to pass through some traffic. And Mike Donoghue's one of them. He gets by Robert McFarland. Robert does a good job of getting out of the way and letting him go. But every time, especially on a road course, that you come up on someone who's a little bit slower, you have to change your line just a bit, and that can cost you time, and sometimes it can cost you a mistake that you hadn't planned on. And I really think that's what our top three have to be most concerned about right now. Of course, Jackson, we don't think is going to be able to, well, he's not going to be able to make it on the fuel. He's going to lose out on this top three here at some point. Everybody else looks to be good on fuel to the end, Sam.
So entering the closing laps of this opening round of the playoffs for the 2018 SSCA Sim Speed Shop Truck Series. This is the Sim Speed Shop at Lordco 150 here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. They'll be back for round 2 of the playoffs in 2 weeks' time at Las Vegas before they head off to Talladega.
Talladega? Did you say Talladega, Sam?
Yes, I said they're very concerned considering how some of these trucks have looked at the end of Bristol and even today on the road course.
Yeah. Those L's, those 2 L's in Talladega, they're really big. You want to know why? Big fun, big action at Talladega every time we get a race there. I look forward to seeing these trucks open it up on the high banks there in Alabama. But right now, we got to get it done here north of the border. Canada, I almost said Canada. Canada is the scene of the action tonight. Bowmanville, Ontario, to be exact. And Sam, it's been a fun race, but Scott Seaman has really, really dominated the second half of this race. The third stage has really just been all his.
Yeah, it's very interesting how in each of our 3 stages, we've had a different driver dominate it. And a lot of that, I think, has just been to do the damage, honestly, in attrition. I mean, Kevin Fetty, he controlled the opening stage of the race, but Daniel Jackson was putting pressure on him. Well, Jackson was able to get the lead from Fetty for stage 2 after, in my opinion, Fetty kind of let him have it after he realized he was going to be penalized for changing lanes on the restart. Otherwise, that gave Jackson stage 2, and by the time we really got to stage 3, Fetty was out of the picture, and Jackson is shooting himself in the foot with a BB gun each lap where he chooses to stay out, and eventually that's going to punch a hole through his shoe.
Sam, there he goes. He's in, but I've got to ask, what was he going to shoot himself in the foot with?
A BB gun.
Okay, all right. Let's just say you have a unique way of referencing the BB gun. So,
well, I mean, he's been shooting himself in the foot every lap, I think, with the strategy. And if he had a gun, he'd be out of the race by now. So, BB gun. I mean, Steve Sakers has already gone by, and he's already rolling. I'm not even sure if he took tires. I really haven't quite understood this strategy, because I don't think he took tires right there. Now Judd Danielson's going to be right on his rear bumper. Okay, well,
it was a 12-second stop, Sam. I'll tell you what. Actually, that's really close. You know what? I'm gonna go look. You keep an eye on these guys for me. I want to take a look here and see what he did.
Well, whatever he did, he's got 9 laps to try and make the most of what he has now. See if he can pull away from Danielson and run Steve Sakers down. Right now, Danielson hounding him from behind in the 17 machine. Oh boy, Jackson struggling for power, coming out Moss. Danielson having the same problem. He's going to try and take it here on the straightaway, and Jackson's just going to give it up. But Trucker was absolutely dominating stage 2 and looking untouchable. Yeah. Well, and now he's not even going to get a top 5.
Yeah, Sam, again, there are questions about the strategy. Honestly, he didn't take tires, and I don't understand that. It would have only cost him about 2.5 to 3 more seconds to get him on the truck. He took 12.3 seconds of fuel, and now he's let Danielson, who's got a pretty banged up truck, get around him. And boy, I would think any hope right now of getting towards close to the top 3 is fleeting at best. And Danielson is now starting to pull away just a bit as he got around Robert McFarland, who also just came out of the pits, actually, just a moment ago.
Actually, I think the next thing Daniel Jackson is going to have to worry about is Mark McFadden back in 7th place. I mean, McFadden hasn't been putting on stellar laps himself, but nor has Jackson. With 8 laps to go, 7 seconds separates them, so we'll keep an eye on that interval.
Yeah, I will, Sam, because that could be one of the boy, and Jackson still having more trouble side by side with McFarland and Moss. McFarland's actually going to get through. Jackson, they made a little bit of door-to-door contact there in the apex of Moss. And I would officially, I'm making it official. Daniel's truck right now, at least those tires are junk, man. He's got nothing for anybody around him. And like you said, that was the dominant truck of stage 2.
And I mean, yes, sure, he got a little bit of damage at the start of stage 2, but I really don't think it's the damage that's upsetting that truck.
Well, right now it's the tires. It's got nothing to do with the damage. The tires are just chewed up on that machine. He's got to try and get through this for another 8 laps.
Haven't checked back in on our leaders very recently. Scott Seaman just put the 8th place truck, Ray Richer, a lap down. Now, it's worth noting Mike Donoghue has actually been a little bit quicker than Seaman in the closing laps, but only by a couple of tenths, and there's a 10-second interval between them. So I think that 99 is going to be safe for these final 8 laps. Of course, everything will get changed around if we see a yellow in the closing moments, but things have been quite clean since that last restart.
Yeah, no yellows, Sam. We don't want any of those. No yellows. And listen, we talked before about Daniel Jackson's trouble, his plight that he's dealing with right now. He's going to be dealing with Mark McFadden before this race is over, Sam. He's got it down to just over 4 seconds now. And he is closing. In fact, that last trip they made around, there was almost a 4-second difference between the two in lap times, Jackson and McFadden. And that Lordco Chevrolet trying to get himself here into a better spot, and he's going to have to get through Jackson to do it. Sam, going to get across the line here, or at least for the Lordco Chevy, it's going to be 7 to go.
Yeah, it's just going to be 6 to go for our race leader, Scott Seaman, though, who's actually not too far away from this battle. Scott Seaman, as we mentioned,
David Gervais, I'm sorry, Sam. David Gervais had trouble on the front straight. And boy, he just nosed it in hard to the inside concrete barrier on the front straight. We've got it on the replay. I don't know if it really started out of whites for him. It maybe started after he got out of whites and got back to the power. Let's see here. Everything fine there. Oh, he got off into the grass. Oh. Yeah, something was strange about that. Maybe a loss of focus there for a moment for Gervais. He's been struggling here towards the back, trying to just finish the race at this point. Truck's got a lot of damage on it, but, well, luckily nobody else got caught up in that. It's just David that had to suffer through that. But that MGD machine having kind of a rough evening. The MGD Silverado right now riding in 11th. But Sam, you know what? He started 13th, and he is one of the trucks that are still running in this race. And up front, it's still Scott Seaman putting down the fast laps. He was fastest around that last time. And, you know, there's that other battle we were paying attention to, whether or not McFadden was going to get Jackson. And Sam, I think that's going to happen soon.
Yeah, well, if it's going to happen, it will happen in the next 10 minutes or so, because that's all we've got left of this race. Mentioned David Gervais. He's running 5 laps down. He is the last truck left running out there in 11th place. 3 laps down in 10th place is a playoff driver, Robert McFarland. Everyone else is either on the lead lap, 1 lap down, or out of this race. As a matter of fact, keep an eye on and give you a report of how our playoff drivers did at the end of this. Then, as you mentioned, Sean, though, that scrap for 6th place should definitely be coming to a head, because they have 5.5 laps left to go. Meanwhile, Mike Donoghue, and off goes McFadden, almost entering Moss, but it's not going to cost him a whole lot of time.
Amazingly enough, it doesn't. He did a really good job of recovering from that as he was continuing to close on Jackson. He caught a little bit of a break there, sliding it through the dirt. So, hey, listen, just about a month ago, we saw these very same trucks get around the dirt there at Eldora just fine. So, truck equals dirt equals good fun, Sam. So, McFadden still closing here on Daniel Jackson.
Now these two come across the line. 5 laps left to go for this battle for 6. Really the one battle we have left on this track. Daniel Jackson and Mark McFadden both racing in the playoffs, where Jackson got a lot of bonus points early on. He finished 2nd in stage 1 and 1st in stage 2, and I'll be the first to admit that I've been hard on him in this final stage, and it's definitely not going to be the result that he deserved, but still, a 7th place finish at the end here is going to be a lot better than what some of his playoff competitors have been able to post on the board. And hopefully this battle between himself and McFadden, whichever way it goes, ends cleanly, and the loser of it will end up in 7th place, and it's going to be Jackson, I think, because there goes McFadden.
Yep, there he goes indeed. And he's going to, obviously, Mark's going to make a charge to get around the lap truck of Robert McFarland. But that's what Mark was looking for. It's been a tough race for the Lloyd Post Chevrolet, but I think recovering to a 6th place right now, not too bad. Not too bad for him at all, as he'll come across the line, and it'll be 4 to go for that truck this evening.
Yeah, so Mark McFadden now up in 6th place, and he was one of the ones who really got a sour deal earlier on one of the restarts. But now he has rebounded up to 6th, where he finished stage number 2. He finished stage number 1 in 5th place. So a solid performance out here today from Mark McFadden. I think he'll be happy with that. I think another driver who's going to be happy with how things have gone for him today is the driver McFadden's about to lap, Robert McFarland. We've had a few road course races here recently, as Daniel Jackson puts a couple of wheels off in the background. We've had a few road course races here recently in the SSCA, and let's not lie, Robert McFarland has definitely not been the stronger performer on these road courses, currently running 3 laps down. A lot of that, I've got to confess, I believe is due to pace. But with all that being said, he is going to salvage a 10th place finish here today, which is not a bad way to kick off the playoffs.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think he's going to walk away pretty satisfied knowing that he's going to Talladega with a chance, Sam, to win.
Vegas first.
I'm sorry, going to Vegas with a chance to win, much different situation, something he's probably a lot more comfortable with, going to that 1.5 miles out there in the middle of the desert. And McFarland having trouble in front of McFadden. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. But McFadden able to get around clean, and then struggles a little bit on the exit of whites. Again, that wasn't a battle for position, but it was a scary moment for a guy who's trying to hang on to 6th right now, that he's worked so hard to just get back, Sam.
Nothing against Joe Johnson, but aren't you glad both of these two drivers made the playoffs so we wouldn't be getting them mixed up as, this one's a playoff driver, but this one's not.
Yeah, good point, Sam. Good point. I kind of surprised we've hit the final laps of this race. I could go for another 10 more. I'm a fan of this track. I've run a lot of different vehicles from the iRacing service on it, and it's just wicked fun. It really is, and the truck is a good combo here.
Yeah, coming up though very soon for our race leader is Scott Seaman, and boy, man, I'll say it straight up, Sean. This was not the drive I was going to pick for the win today. I mean, he's had decent performances throughout the season. I did not know that the drive of this 99 was going to put on this solid, consistent, and speedy of a performance at a road course. But boy, when other drivers fell short today, he has really pulled through. And on the last lap, Daniel Jackson is making a pit stop.
And that is odd. I can't imagine with a 12.3 second stop, Sam, that he underfueled the truck. That had to have been full fuel. So this must be something more.
Well, the driver he's got to worry about is Ray Richer coming through the last couple of corners right now, because Ray Richer is the driver running in 8th place. And let's see if Jackson's able to retain 7th position. And Jackson's rolling, but he's lost another spot. Ray Richer's gone through into 7th.
Sam, I think the best thing to do is focus on the man who's winning this race right now and not worry about the strategy or lack thereof that Daniel Jackson put out this evening. Scott Seaman's been magnificent since the drop of the green flag at the end of, or the beginning of stage 3, and well, we celebrate him and commend him for his effort this evening.
He's been in 5 races this season. Came out with 1 top 10 finish. Hasn't had the top 5 yet this season. Now he is about to get not only a top 5, but the win here today at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Through the last couple of turns comes the 99 Silverado. Scott Seaman is going to take a victory here at Mosport.
It's a great drive, Sam. I mean, that's how you do it. Mike Donahue's got to come across in the Miller the Miller High Life machine. We've got another Miller truck in the field, but great run by Donahue tonight, and Michael Dullard's going to complete the top 3, Sam.
So only one of our top 3 finishers racing for playoff points. That would be Mike Donahue in 2nd. And meanwhile, on the last lap, Mark McFadden, running in 6th place, has gone into the wall. However, whatever happens to McFadden, he's basically destined to finish 6th anyway, because everyone behind him has already finished the race lap down.
That's a real head scratcher there for McFadden, how his race ended, to be really honest with you.
And Steve Segers and Judd Danielson round out the top 5 and 4th and 5th. Well, we are going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll be back with a full race rundown as well as drive interviews. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Sim Speed Shop Lordco 150, where we just witnessed 60 laps of racing action here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It was the first round of the playoffs, but 2 of our podium positions were not taken by playoff drivers. Scott Seaman winning the race and Michael Dillard back there in 3rd place. Mike Donoghue definitely comes out our big winner as far as the championship is concerned with a 2nd place finish. Steve Sagers back there in 4th ahead of Judd Danielson, rounding out your top 5. Michael McFadden was the last driver on the lead lap when it was all said and done, with a few scratches on his 48 machine back in 6th place. First driver 1 lap down was Ray Richer ahead of Daniel Jackson, who I think will want to rethink a couple of decisions from this race back there in 8th. Russ Coe was in 9th position. He was also a lap down. Robert McFarland was the last truck left running, actually, at the end there. Sean in 10th.
All right, Sam, then that'll make it pretty easy. I'll get the rest here. David Gervais, 11th today. Kevin Fetty, what a tough break for that Bass truck today. He'll finish 12th. Sean Callist is 13th. Ralph Vorst, 14th for him. Jeff Martin, 15th, and we saw his hopes dashed early. Unfortunate for him. And 16th, got to go to Chris Scala. We'll look forward to seeing him in the next round. He'll be back to compete, don't worry. And in 17th place, it's William Hartman, who really got a DNS. Did not start this race. Trouble for McFarland early, and well, Sam, that's going to really make a difference in the points here. It's not the way you want to get round 1 started, but I think you've caught up with Michael Dullard, who, let's face it, Dullard avoided a little bit of trouble and wound up having a pretty good night, Sam.
Yeah, we've caught up with our 3rd place finish here, while other top finishers are still debriefing with their crews. Now, Michael, you're not out there running for points, but you're out there running for solid finishes. Got a decent one out there today.
Yeah, it was a lot better than I expected. I got caught up in a couple of incidents there about the middle of the race, and I was down probably 50 horsepower. That thing, it was about 10 mile an hour slower down the straightaways than everybody else, so I had to make it all up in the corners.
Yeah, we saw the restarts there that were definitely crazy. A couple of incidents. Fortunately, for the most part, you were all able to keep it green. How much was tyre wear a concern, though? I mean, obviously, we saw a couple of drivers out there on old tyres really not working for them in the closing stages. How many good laps could you get out of those tyres?
I think if you were running it hard, racing for the lead or racing against somebody, I think you probably got a good 5 or 6 laps out of them. And then after that, it'd really start to fall off. I mean, there towards the end, we were losing anywhere between 2 and 3 seconds a lap. So I think if you had fresh tires, you were definitely doing something. The older tires, I felt like I was better on them. I was faster than everybody else on them. I know I was catching the 2nd place and the leader there towards the end of the race. I just needed a few more laps and a little bit more horsepower. But this Hino Toyota development Tundra was fast.
And Michael, you had an impressive regular season where you were able to lead a lot of laps, get a couple of top 5 finishes. Unfortunately, you weren't able to make all the races and you weren't able to get a W, so you were on the outside looking in, unfortunately, when the playoffs started. What are your goals for the last 6 races of this season, and what will your goals be championship-wise in 2019?
Well, our goal is to come out here and lead laps and win races. I mean, that's been my goal since I started over here, and we've had plenty of opportunities. They've just, the cookies haven't crumbled my way, I guess you could say. I've had a couple of them taken away from me, but there's nothing you can do about that besides load up and go to the next track. As far as for the rest of the season, win races. I mean, that's what we're here to do. That's what everybody's here to do. Just because we're not in the playoffs doesn't mean we can't go up there and run with those big guys. So we're looking forward to that. And as far as 2019 goes, I'm hoping to be back in the trucks. We might move up to an Xfinity Challenger, B-class car, whatever they want to call it. We'll see how things go. I feel really comfortable in the trucks. I like the way they drive. I like the way you just got to throw them around.
Yeah, we definitely saw a good show out there today. Well, congratulations on your 3rd place finish today, Michael. Unfortunate that you had that horsepower problem from the damage that you mentioned. We didn't get to see what you could have done without that. But we hope to see you back in 2 weeks' time at Vegas and maybe get your first W of the season.
That's the plan. I appreciate you guys helping out with this and putting this on, and congratulations to Scott out there. He's a teammate of mine, so if anybody was going to win, I'm glad it was him. He did a hell of a job out there. He doesn't like road courses, but hopefully this changed his mind.
And that was our third place finisher, Michael Dullard. Well, yeah, as he just mentioned, Sean, Scott Seaman doesn't like road courses. Well, I've got to imagine he is changing his mind right now.
He likes him now, Sam.
Yeah. All right,
Sam.
Yeah,
go ahead, Sam.
Sean. Well, in 2 weeks' time, we're heading to Vegas, where, as you mentioned just a moment ago, boy, the points are going to be shaken up a little bit. And Vegas is going to be really the only normal race of these 3 rounds that 8 trucks need to advance from.
Yeah, Sam, and listen, things are going to get tense in Vegas. Luckily, we've got a week off in between to gather our thoughts before we get there. But hey, real quick, I want to thank our great sponsor again this evening. Back in 1974, Roy Lord and Ed Coates had a vision, and it was Lord Co. Auto Parts. And they are the largest distributor and retailer of automotive parts and accessories in British Columbia. That's right, British Columbia. Go to lordco.com. Real simple, LORDCO.com. Pull them up. See if they can help you out. They would appreciate it, and we appreciate them for sponsoring the Lordco 150 tonight here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Sam.
Yeah, we appreciate them. We also appreciate all of the organisers and the competitors in the Simulated Stock Car Association and the Sim Speed Shop Truck Series for coming out here tonight and putting on a wild show. We would also like to thank all of the companies that provide us the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and there you can see them all listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide us with our great music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Joe and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, and Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.